Mango Math presents Race for Time, a third grade game. Race for Time is a third grade game that falls under the math strand of measurement, and it's a measurement game to tell and write time to the nearest minute and to measure time intervals in minutes. Solve word problems involving addition and subtraction of time intervals. The supplies that are provided in your pouch, along with your information guide and directions, will be a dry erase marker, an eraser, a green die and a red die, and a Race for Time game board. To start this game, students will need a Race for Time game board. And if you'll notice on the game board, there are some directions on it. All the students will start at 12 a.m. to start their race, and they are to go to stop 1. There's no time limit on what it takes to get to stop 1, so all they need to do is roll their dice. The red-sided dice will tell you how many hours, and the green-sided dice will tell you how many minutes in 10-minute intervals. So in this case, we have the time of 3 hours and 50 minutes. So notice that player 1 and player 2 have both gone. Player 1 got to stop number 2 at 3:50 a.m. and player 2 got to stop 2 at 2:40 a.m. The students can use the clocks below to record that information. The first player can use the top row of clocks, and the second player can use the bottom row of clocks. And they could color in the hour that they have. In this case, it colored in blue to 3 hours and the minutes to 50 minutes. The second player can do the same thing. He has 2 hours and 40 minutes. So they can use these clocks down below to help them out. So now the first player can roll again, and he rolls a 3 and a 6, which comes out to 3 hours and 60 minutes. Now hopefully the student will understand that and 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So their exact time would be 4 hours. But notice on the board it says that you must roll at least 4 hours and 10 minutes to get to stop number 2. This player wasn't able to do that, so they're going to have to roll for the dice again for a time that they will add on to the 4 hours. So they'll roll again, and they've got 3 hours and 50 minutes. So this player will have to add 3 hours and 50 minutes to their current time of 4 hours to get a total travel time of 7 hours and 50 minutes. So it took them to get from stop number 1 to stop number 2, 7 hours and 50 minutes. Now we need to figure out what time did they arrive at stop number 2. In order to do that, they are going to have to take their 7 hours and 50 minutes and add it to their 3 hours and 50 minutes to get their new time. The students can start to figure out what the time is by using the clocks that they've already used below and shading those in. So they can add in the 7 hours and 50 minutes. They can start with adding the hours, and they can add in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. So they are now at 10 o'clock. They can now then add the minutes in, and they can add 50 minutes or 10 minutes in to get to an hour. And since they have an hour, they're going to have to add that onto their hour clock for that and erase what they had on their minutes. So now they're at 11 o'clock. And so they're going to add on, so they had 10 minutes, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. So it's taken them 11 hours and 40 minutes to get to their next stop. They can also do this by addition, and they can take their 7 hours and 50 minutes and the 3 hours and 50 minutes and add those together. They can start with adding their minutes together, which gets 100 minutes. 60 minutes is an hour, so they'll subtract that 60 minutes out to get 40 minutes. They will add that hour to their hour side, and they now have a total of 11 hours and 40 minutes. So they can do it either way. The clocks just help them with a little bit more visual. So now they've gotten to their next stop. And the students will continue playing this way, going from stop to stop until they get to the finish. And it's the player that gets to the finish in the least amount of time. It also helps to understand which ones are AM and PM times. That's a difficulty in time telling, is that your hours will repeat themselves in the PM. So they should know that the first clock is an AM clock. Once they go to the second clock, they're now into PM time. The third clock would be AM again. So the students can have an understanding of how that works. So it's a great activity, and there's some guided questions to help promote deeper understanding. And what is the least amount of time it could take you to complete the race? What is the most amount of time it could take you to finish the race? And if your first roll at stop 3 is a red 3 and a green 2, what is the least amount of time you would need to roll to go to stop 3 to the finish? So these are very deep thought process the questions for kids who are ready to really think about how time lapse happens. Great activity.